tell me what it is, I will learn how to open, a MetaMask wallet and etc. So as the gain, it comes back from, finance guy. It's always that financial incentive that comes first. Education is boring.
Yeah. I wanted to share something that links directly to Cholo. I believe you may be facing a similar situation as regards to that. I feel that right now, especially for Play to Earn Games project, in my personal opinion, we do work with quite a few, and we have chat with Cholo before as well. I feel most, I would say, guilds or Play to Earn games, they focus too much on financial incentives, in my personal opinion. I do agree with you, financial incentives are huge rewards, right, to push it forward. But if we rely too much on just financial incentive, it kind of loses.
Sorry, let me clarify. The financial incentive I'm talking about is not about trading and making profits. I'm talking about brand paying this, whoever is scanning the QR code, an incentive to redeem the reward and gradually move them up the curve. So it's not about trading, it has to be utility. It's not about you have to buy an NFT. No, the NFT is free, but it comes with free stuff already. So that kind of incentive, not speculating on anything.
Cholo, what's your thought on this?
I definitely agree with, I guess, Roy, your point. I think NFTs generally, not just gaming, but even like profile picture NFTs, it suffers from a problem of over-financialization. Yes, NFTs enable financialization, but I think the space has just been consumed by financializing every NFT out there. That's why we're actually very excited about soulbound tokens, because then it gets you the NFT advantages and benefits without financializing it. Because if it's an untransferable token, the only real benefit for actually using it is to accumulate reputation, accumulate and build your DID or digital identity, because then you get the benefits of NFTs without having to really keep one eye on how much it's going to cost and take out the financial aspect of it. I think over time, we'll see more and more of these use cases where you bring in people, as Ryan mentioned, for the utility, and they stay because of the community. And you don't bring them in because of a hope for a 10x or a 5x on their investment. You bring them in because they really feel value in being in the community and owning that NFT.
So I just wanted to add, because my job every day is to deal with companies, right, who want to get into the space. You're not talking about crypto companies, I'm talking about your household names in Singapore, right? And my personal experience is many companies want to get in the space. Many companies are attracted by the financial incentives because they look at it as a new channel, be it for marketing, be it for a new revenue model, etc. Obviously, the financial rewards are enticing, but the challenge I feel is that there's a lot of bad advice in the market, all right? There are plenty of people going to companies and telling them that this is a way to make a quick buck, to be honest.
The miracle pill, pill.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've seen many people who get really bad advice, and these are not sometimes even the biggest companies, but because they have a personal relationship with the CEO, and they're having a beer, and they say, oh, you can make $1 million just by selling air. I've heard that conversation many times everywhere in the world. So there's a lot of bad advice, and that's why we need to have education. In order for me to function in Singapore, and because Singaporean companies in particular, I feel, have a very strong understanding of technology, values technology, looks at technology as an opportunity. And with the right advice, they can make good decisions. I don't have a problem working with brands in Singapore because I and my team, we realize that we need to provide education while we talk about the metaverse to Web2 companies. So we spend a lot of time in consultation. We don't just sell you digital land and say, bye, good luck, have fun, right? But we gotta think about the business model. We got to think about how it adds value to their existing business. We got to tell them how to make it relevant. We got to talk about security. We got to talk about safety. We got to talk about compliance. We have to do all these things that nobody likes doing, but that's the way forward. And as the market understands it more and more, coming in is easy. They don't have a problem. When they understand that you can make soulbound tokens and not make it speculative, it opens up their mind. I have talked about soulbound tokens to so many companies who are afraid of the trading speculative aspect. And when I explain to them that you can sell it once and they can never trade it ever again, and they'll focus on the utility value, they get really excited. They're like, oh, okay, there's a way for me to do it in a way that meets my business goals and still be involved in new tech. So we have to educate, as boring as it is, because we need to cut all the misinformation out, right? And that's why, and if you realize the market is very receptive. When Reddit decided to call their NFTs digital collectibles, I bought one, because I buy NFTs every day, but that's a different story. But Reddit community hates NFTs, okay? But they bought every single digital collectible just because the label is different. So there is demand, there is a stigma. Education happens, and now everyone is telling the Reddit guys, that's actually an NFT, guys. And they all just go quiet now, right? So education is a big thing we need to do. That's what I feel. And we have to do it even on a day-to-day when we deal with clients. And when we solve that problem, everyone will jump in. That's my view.
So yeah, so I just wanted to jump in here because I think the difference in answers where there are some overlaps also indicates there is no one-size-fits-all solution for every use case for NFTs. There will be cases where education has to be the first step. There will be cases where financial incentivization will be the first step. There will be other cases where utility will be the first step for that project, right? So for example, your NFT project for a media company where you're helping to push content for a musician, right, will look very different from your NFT project that you're potentially launching with a data aggregation, right, company that is just looking to help you build a data footprint in a dynamic NFT or an SPT, right? So I just wanted to highlight, right, that there isn't one answer, which goes back to what George mentioned about why it's so important to have that consultative piece when you're looking to launch your NFT strategy, whether it's community focused, whether it's internal focused, where it's focused on the underlying technology, there has to be that pre-work that you do in order to ensure that your NFT project is successful.
Thank you so much for sharing. Does anyone have anything to add on before I move on to the next one? All right. I guess I just want to touch on real quick, right, in interest of time. This is a topic that I feel is going to be pretty heavy, right? But I guess it's what most people here are actually very interested, because me, myself, I'm very interested in it. With the recent tightening in regulations that we've seen every single day in the news with regards to the crypto space, do you foresee the regulators doing the same for NFTs, metaverse, and if so, what are some of the potential impacts, both positively and negatively, and what should project owners or new startup companies do in preparation of that? Because with the recent saga, let me start it off real quick. With the recent saga that have you seen, Hermes has been suing the Meta Perkins project, right? It sets a new case of precedence that it makes things pretty tough, right? It's a blur line between digital IPs and the real world IPs, as we want to draw that sort of 4D line around it, right? But I do say that it's getting real tough for things to get regulated, and with crypto being the first to be hit, I feel that sooner or later it's going to be NFT is going to be the one that's up and coming with that. And there isn't really like a world governing sort of bodies that sort of set the rules between it, and it's sort of up to the individual countries that's setting it, right? And I think they are currently finding their real sweet spot for the crypto side of things. But what are your thoughts, right, with regards to NFTs per se?
I'll just do my quick take. I think it goes back to what Stacy mentioned, that each project, whenever they want to launch an NFT, needs to be very clear about their objectives. Because I would argue that some PFP projects, in a very loose reading of the Howey test, are actually securities. And that is a product of not knowing, but also B, a product of just trying to operate in this gray area. And I think as regulations come on board, then I think you'll have the NFT space grow up a little bit, because before anyone launches NFT, they need to be very sure that A, it's not a security, B, it achieves what I wanted to achieve from a utility standpoint. Like play-to-earn NFTs arguably are not securities, because rewards are due to player activity, not on reliance on a third party. So all this stuff becomes things we need to think about when it comes to an NFT launch. And I think that's great, because then you reduce the misinformation and you reduce the information arbitrage that bad actors have when they launch NFTs. And I think that's just going to be great for the space moving forward. Regulation is not there to stop innovation. It's to allow innovation to progress in a meaningful and not so, like, I guess, hurtful manner.
If I may use an analogy, World Cup soccer, right, for football, depending on how you call it. Why is there rules in soccer? And why is there a referee with yellow card, red card? Because there's rules there. And the rules or the regulations, even in F1, right, is there to make everybody having a level playing field, right, and allowing the genesis of the skill of the player to propel them forward, right? So in the financial market, because I have a fund management license, so we deal with MES quite a bit. And interestingly, anything that I want to do, I will sound out to MES first. I would say, hi, can we have a coffee? Can I do this? Can I not do this? Why? You know, I want to ask them, why can't I do it? So I can understand. And then they understand from my perspective why I want to do that. So my take is that I do meet a lot of crypto founders and stuff, and I ask them, have you spoken to MES on this? Just have a coffee with them. They're not going to say no, they're not going to say yes, but at least you know what are they thinking about. And then you can maneuver how, like what Cholo you mentioned, your end objective. Can it be done? And if it doesn't fall within the regulation space, then it's fine, right? But if you are wanting to get into that space, is to understand how can you maneuver that journey first, right? And a lot of times I find that when we want to get into certain things, we fail to ask the questions. We assume by reading all this, yeah, we can do this, there's already this case study, but it's all public information. Behind the scene, there's a lot of consultation happened already before that, right? Yeah, so that's my
sorry, just to interrupt real quick, right? So I think I speak on behalf of most people here as well with regards to the MES portion of things, because I think I previously came from MES as well. And long gone, by the way. It was way back with regards to that. But I think I speak on behalf of most people here because I'm sure most people did try, but most of the time when we ask them, or let's not say MES, right? Any other regulators out there, I'm pretty sure they don't have any idea as well. And I mean, you look at it way back when, I mean, Singapore regulators are saying, oh, you know, we're gonna welcome Singapore to be a crypto hub, right? Everything's great, you know, let's spread the gospel and stuff. But at the end of the day, yeah, many people applied for the license, they set up a HQ, Huobi, take the entire floor of Asia Square, and then after it was like, hey guys, you know, probably not a good idea, let's not advertise here, let's not do marketing here, and what about the money that was invested, right? What about the people's jobs that was created? Most of them are gone, right? Binance is gone, no longer in Singapore. Huobi is gone, it's no longer in Singapore, and I'm pretty sure, like big exchanges, it doesn't just happen in Singapore, right? Malaysia as well, you know, with tokenized and everything, suddenly say, hey guys, I'm not too sure if we're gonna give you the license anymore, but license was issued, right? Like, you could get it back or what? Like, I feel that, you know, the lines wasn't really drawn very clear, right? Just being the devil advocates here, right? I'm sure like most of the project owners may face that, including myself.
No, you're right in a sense. So I quote one example. When MES didn't have a license for digital securities exchange, they put it under the recognized market operator, RMO, which is the capital markets, right? And then they created Sandbox to basically for these firms or these exchanges that want to deal with the digital space using blockchain to tokenize securities assets, to understand their business model, the frameworks, the risk controls and everything, and operate in a sandbox to prove themselves, right? So if I was a crypto exchange, I would say, MES, can I go into your sandbox? This is my business case. I want to do this. I want to apply for your license. And I'm ready to go into a sandbox for you to evaluate me before you give me the license, right? So there is avenue for one to demonstrate that I will comply based on what my end objective is. For example, let's say I just want to open up to only accredited investors, not retail. Retail will come later, but I want to progressively scale up. Not just one big bang and say, oh, I have all this, but actually it's a white paper. I haven't developed it yet. Then the regulator will say, nope, sorry, you can't because you don't have the systems and the framework and the people who understands how to operate it. When shit hits the fence, where we all seen, what does crypto exchanges do? They hold back the withdrawal. You don't see an exchange around the world in the capital markets do that. They will stop trading, but investors can still withdraw the funds. But in this case, I'm just astounded by crypto exchanges say, no, I can't withdraw my money. Imagine a bank tells you that. It's your money, but you can't withdraw it. That's phenomenal. So just one example, yeah.
I just wanted to zoom out a little bit specifically on NFTs, right? And compare it with when cryptos was introduced in ICOs. I don't know if you remember or any of you were around, but when ICOs and cryptos, I mean, in the industry, you were alive, okay? But you know, when they started, what happened was they classified tokens: asset token, payment token, utility token. That happened, and that provided kind of a framework for people to set up regulations and governance. But for NFTs, that discussion somehow hasn't taken place, if you realize. And that's really where I think the trouble is, because there is talk of regulating NFTs. But if they don't classify it well, it's a bit insane. Because think about it, certain NFTs, which is in like a game, are no different than any of the games that you play with in-app purchases. If you start applying it onto NFTs, which is used the same way, are you going to govern games? You set a precedent, right? So, and so the challenge now is that conversation doesn't seem to be happening. We should take a step back and start to classify what NFTs represents ownership of an item. It could be a collectible item, like a Nike shoe that you sell on eBay where prices go up. Why should NFTs be governed any differently? So the good news I see is that depending on markets and countries, some regulators seem to understand that, and they're trying to hold off regulating NFTs until it becomes an actual serious problem. Because they don't want to stifle the fact that, you know, you can just buy and sell an asset, right? So I think that's a good sign that at least there is that, but I think that the market also needs to talk about how to classify it. Is this an investment? Should the Howey test be done on NFTs? And most of them fail the moment they have staking and get some kind of reward, right? But that's the thing. And I'm actually quite pro-regulation as long as the implementation is done right. And that's different. A lot of people have regulations. They all sound good. Yeah. But if it's rife with corruption, I'm not saying Singapore has no corruption, very good. Okay, I'm not saying. I'm just saying I'm not from Singapore, so I see a lot of corruption, right? So when implementation is bad, that's when regulations don't work. So Vitalik warned about Singapore over-regulating. I disagree. And that's not a popular opinion, but because I believe that in Singapore, if you follow the rules, you're fine to do what you want, right? As long as you keep within the rules. You can debate about whether the rules are right or not, and that should be debated on, but once it's done, I believe implementation is usually sound.
If I can strengthen 2 points, not just regulations, I feel that around the world, or for me per se, the legal system, the courts, must be able to keep up abreast as well. Case in point, there was 2 cases in Singapore that went up to the Supreme Court. One was exchange against an institution. And usually you would think that the exchange will win, but the exchange lost. And the exchange hired a senior counsel, which is almost similar to a Queen's Counsel in the UK. They lost. The judge awarded it to the plaintiff, right? The institution. The second case was on something to do with NFT, right?
The BAYC, the BAYC.
Yes. And the judge agreed on the injunction. I was like, wow, that means the courts are getting in tune with the classification, the legitimacy, the jurisdiction and stuff. So to me, it's comforting, other than just regulation, right? The law has to keep up, because if we here are owners of certain NFT, and if we need to get into a situation, we know that the legal framework is there to address that. Yeah.
I know we're coming up time, but I wanted to add one particular comment. So the discussion we've been having so far actually has been focused on the primary side, which is on the Howey test side, right? Whether or not it's a security. But if we zoom out even further, right, we look at, actually there are some courts in the world that are looking at specific use cases and looking at regulating NFTs depending on what is the use case. So for example, IP rights, right? There have been several cases around NFTs related to intellectual property and ensuring that you're carving out sort of the legal framework for this. Given that NFTs are so new, this is something that as an industry, we have had to come to terms with the fact that there will be gray areas, and we have to be flexible, not just in educating the regulators and showing the different use cases, but also being flexible in, okay, well, if this is not the place, I need to maybe go somewhere else, or try to find a way to work with the regulator to figure out what is the right way to treat the NFT depending on the use case. So I think as an industry, right, folks entering the space definitely understand or should understand that it is quite great, it is quite new, it does come with the territory as the industry is maturing, and that's something that maybe some parts of the industry won't have time for, won't care for it, but we have to have parts of the industry that is engaging with regulators, is engaging in the education piece, because that's the only way that it will have a clearer framework for the entire industry to flourish.
Yeah, if I may just jump on one point. Who knows the country Republic of Georgia? Okay, so I just found out just a couple weeks ago, Republic of Georgia is one of the 5 countries in the world that actually adopted blockchain, quote-unquote NFT, to digitize land titles.
Quite a few countries, actually.
Yeah, yeah. And the Singapore Land Authority, I assume, is looking into that because there was news come out that they want to digitize land titles, which to me is fantastic, because if you have come across when you bought a property secondhand, you wait for weeks and months to get a title transferred to you, which is just a piece of paper, right? So so that in a use case on an infrastructure layer, government agencies are looking to that, which is very encouraging.
Yeah, Brian, do you have anything to add on? All right, I guess we have come to going to be the end of our session. Just to sum it up, I think for me, my personal take will be really to draw. It's a fine line between to draw between innovation and regulation, right? For us, so I guess project owner, I hope that everyone here have a great informative sessions from us, and feel free to reach out to any of us. We can have Q&A. Yeah, sure. Any questions from the floor? Going once, going twice.
Not about what NFTs we own, or?
Sorry? Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining, and thank you my fellow panelists, and I hope you guys have a great day at this event. Thank you so much.
A round of applause once again, ladies and gentlemen, to our moderator and panel, our panelists all over here once again with the discussion of what will the future of NFTs look like for people and companies. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to an end of our panel discussion. Of course, all the speakers and talks that we have right here today at Blockchain Fest 2023. We'd like to thank everyone. Thank you for joining us right here. Hope you guys learned a lot. All right. If you guys have any other further inquiries you'd like to know more in detail, you can always consult with them at the foyer. And of course, just to remind you, the exhibition is still ongoing till 6 p.m. Till then, for those of you all still here, continue enjoying yourself. For those of you all leaving, do drive home safely. Take care. And all of us right here, once again, for Blockchain Fest 2023, we'll say goodbye.